Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Normie Recertification Training. Today is September 12th, 2023. I want to welcome everybody here. I want to welcome everybody that actually attended and saw us at the Experience Show. Very grateful for that. We had a big turnout out there, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But I want to welcome my admin people coming in the room here. And I want to welcome everybody on all the other social media platforms that we're broadcasting on at the moment. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because we spread our wings a bit at the experience with more broadcasting and going live over 3 days. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome, guys. Glad to see you all here in the room.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
You know, we're going to do a little different format today. Normally we go for an hour, but it's going to be an extended CE training, if you want to call it tonight, just because of the amount of material that we have. And I didn't want to break it up into multiple parts and slight anybody that we had talked to, you know, putting this group first, this group second. So we're all going to come out here together. And I think our members that weren't able to attend the Experience Show will get quite a bit out of it. Hearing from a lot of the different people that were there, we spoke with vendors, we spoke with trainers, we spoke with the administrative people, the new owners of the Experience Show. Some of our admin people were involved with some of the interviews. So I think it was a lot of fun. I'll tell you that much. It was enjoyable doing it. And we met a lot of really great people while we're out there. You'll see as you're watching the video, a lot of activity in the booth. There are a lot of things going on continuously. I think we could sum it all up by, I think I'll get a raised hand from just about everybody here. Exhausting?
Amen.
Yeah, amen. So, Doug, I really want to start with you, if that's okay. I mean, I know you got a lot out of this show. I mean, you were a trainer, you were in the booths, you were involved with a lot of things. It's kind of what your impressions of what you saw for the people that weren't there, you know, what they may have missed.
It's interesting you say that I got a lot out of it. I gave a lot to it too. I think that's.
I didn't want to give you the opportunity to say that.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic show. It's really interesting because the Fort Lauderdale show was this new owner's first show, and it was obviously a transition show in spring. And I think there was always kind of a trepidation about what this particular show might look like in Las Vegas, which is always a much bigger show. But I'll tell you, they did a really, really good job. It's very well organized. I think getting in and out was easy. We were able to do a lot of training. We had 2 full-day tracks, or half-day tracks, but that's the way they do it on the full day. They call it a full day. And then we did great exhibitions in the exhibition hall. So it was really a great show, able to connect with some old friends and make a bunch of new ones. So I was really happy. We had a huge presence there. I think we had a total of 10 Normie folks there. And so it was fun.
It was. And I did learn something. I didn't think that somebody's shoes could actually hurt. Not hurt me, hurt the shoes. It was the size of the place is immense. And there was so much activity going on. You know, one of the things that I noticed, there was another convention going on at the same time. And this was for pilots of drones. It's a big drone convention. And we were finding a lot of their people in our trainings.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that went over with the drone group, but you know, a lot of their people took part of our trainings. They were in the audience, which was standing room only, and I think just about every session.
Well, the opportunity that we had that last day on Friday to be able to take all morning from 8:30 to 12 to do hands-on training. I mean, we basically built a framework home inside of the classroom and was able to contain it with poly on the top and the sides, use an air wall, put it under negative pressure, demonstrate the air scrubbing process, the PRV 24K, zipper doors, fresh air makeup. To be able to do all of that, I think that was one of the most exciting parts of the entire show. And I know Larry Cooper was incredibly complimentary. He said he was so excited about the fact that there were so many people in there, so many people talking about it, and people that came specifically for that. So it was kind of nice to have that sort of presence there.
Yeah, it was. And, what I did notice, we had a lot of vendors taking part in our trainings, sitting in on it to find out what else was going on in the industry and how we approached it. So no, that was beyond surprising. That was just really good to see that.
It's amazing when you see, and of course we see this in some of our classes as well, but it's amazing when you see brand new guys in the industry. Maybe they've not been in the industry for more than a year or two, and they come to an event like this. And then you see guys that have been in the industry like Barry Costas and others that have been in the industry for years on top of years, longer than I have. And all of them saying that they learned something, that it was something that was really good for them to be there. That's quite the compliment. And so my compliments to the trainers who were participating in that, you specifically, and Robert Pettijohn and Tim. I just think it was a great job that was done.
Yeah, absolutely. I did some checking today online because obviously when we did our broadcasting, we were going over all of our normal platforms. But a lot of the people that we interviewed went and found the recordings of those broadcasts and shared them out to their markets, hundreds and hundreds. I think one of the guys was almost 1,000 views through his network. And we had several people resharing like that. And the word's out there.
Well, we don't talk that much about maybe that much about sharing on Facebook, but for those of you who are listening in, go to the Normie page and share this information. I think the world needs to know the kinds of things that we're offering and how different we are in the way we approach this industry. So get the word out.
Absolutely. And not just Facebook, because we have a lot of people watching right now on LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch,
That's right,
and all the other platforms. If you're on your favorite platform, just share the link, share the video, and it helps us. It helps the industry.
Yeah,
it helps us promote the right way things are done, and that's really what we're all about.
That's right. That's right.
So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to hold off actually on the announcements to the end, if that's okay with everybody, unless you guys got something burning that we got to get out right now. I want to start the interviews. There's several different segments. There's points where I actually even tried to walk around with a live feed, and we're getting better at it. And I think for the next show, we may have even more surprises coming, trying to bring it to everybody that can't be there. So we'll see where that goes. But, bear with a little bit of the audio. Sometimes I walked a little bit out of range. Oh, well, we had good coverage, but, we're learning the boundaries. But the rest of it's pretty good. So sit back, relax, enjoy. For those of you that were interviewed, thank you. I'll thank you again here as we're about to show the interviews that you were all involved with. So I'm going to ask my admin people to shut everything down. If there's any questions or comments, you could put them in as we go. I probably won't be able to answer them, but we do have some other admin people in there that may be able to help out with that. So I am going to shut down my video also. We're going to start this up, and at the end, we'll have some more announcements with Best Training School, Best Living Systems, more Normie stuff coming. So enjoy, everybody, and we'll be back in a little bit. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Ms. Lance here from Normie TV, and we are live from Las Vegas at the Experience Trade Show. Over the next 3 days, during trade show hours, we're going to be doing interviews and a lot of live presentations right here on Normie.tv. So if you're watching on any of the social media platforms, we'll be broadcasting there also. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, or just Normie.tv. So we're working right now on scheduling quite a few interviews over the next 3 days. The normal broadcasting for Normie TV is going to be interrupted. We may have it running a little bit in between interviews, but we'll be shutting it down. So for those of you that follow us on any of the social media platforms, you will get notifications when we go live. And we're going to try to do a lot of it, as much as possible anyways, during the actual presentations here at the show. A lot of the vendors are here. A lot of the attendees are going to be here. The management side from the experience, we'll be talking with them. So if you weren't able to make it, we're going to try to give you a little glimpse as to what's really going on here. So stick around. Keep the normie.tv channel open if you want to watch it there, or any of the other social media platforms you're normally on. And we will be talking with you later. So take care. And welcome back, everybody. Again, we are here at the Experience Trade Show in Las Vegas, and I have Doug Hoffman with me. Now, they just opened the doors up to the trade show, and there was a wall of people literally coming over to our booth. And Doug, I know that the PRV 24K, the unit that we were just talking about, is like a big draw. Well, what kind of reaction did you see from the people that were coming over?
You know, it's really funny here. We got 3 more people that just showed up. This device, this PRV 24K, which actually ionizes the air during the air scrubbing process, I think is going to be one of the hottest items here at the show. You know, we presented it last year at Fort Lauderdale back in the spring, and we got such a huge reception. People were really interested in it. So it's a pretty cool device.
You know, the people are going, what's that? You know, it's like they've seen something similar, but nothing like this. And we have the tubes extending out, the lay flat.
Yeah.
So we're actually sending the technology all across our booth, which is a pretty big area.
Yeah, I think the funny thing about this is most guys don't think about an air filtration device when they use it as an air scrubber. It's really recirculating the air that's really close to it. It just can't go out there very far, obviously, because it's got the vacuum sucking the air into the filter. And so it's going to kind of get the air real close to it, but it's not going to take the air far away. So when we start teaching on tails, the idea of running a piece of lay flat out 20, 30, 40 feet, tying it off and putting slits in it, that was a kind of an innovation in a lot of ways. Guys thinking about, oh, well, now I can clean the air in the entire room and circulate all of the air, not just the air right around the air scrubber. Well, then when you add the ionizer to it, wow, it's like a whammy. You know, you've got a technology that's going to be incredibly effective, make the air scrubbing process probably half as long as it would be otherwise. And you're going to get, believe it or not, down into the zeros for the testing.
And that's what the people are asking me. So what does it really do? And, you know, when I started to explain about it, it more or less clumps the particulate into larger pieces so you can filter it out. Then you go, oh, I understand now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and we didn't even talk about, you know, how it helps move around the relative humidity, the higher levels against the floor. It just helps the entire process.
Well, that's right. And that's only half of the process, the ionization process. The other part is sending out that photocatalytic oxidation oxidizers into those areas, those cracks and crevices that maybe they missed with their fogging process or they couldn't get to, so they couldn't wipe it down. Now you're sending an oxidizer out that's going to destroy microbes. My goodness, it's just a win-win.
Yeah, you're not talking about ozone, though. You're talking about different technology.
That's right. And so one guy asked me about that, by the way. He said, well, can you actually produce hydroxyls without ozone? The answer is yes. This ionizer, when you add the dielectric barrier ionizer to the PCO technology, even without ozone, it's going to give you the same results, in some ways better results than results with ozone.
Yeah, here's actually one of the DBI cells that you were just talking about.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, this is the DBI cell. It's a really interesting technology. This is actually an internationally patented product from Korea, and Best Living Systems is the only company that actually has the rights to sell this in the United States. But this added to the PCO technology, it just supercharges that oxidizers to be incredibly effective.
Now, we were at the Experience show in the spring, and it was a good show. It was busy, but just from what you've seen in the last 15 minutes, we got mobbed with people here.
Yeah, I'm almost embarrassed sitting here doing this because there's so much to do, so many people to see. This is a huge crowd. It's probably, I would say, 4 or 5 times as large.
Oh, easily,
Yeah.
easily.
So,
Well, we'll have you back later on, and we're going to be doing this over the next 2 days after today. So we're going to do more interviews and we'll be popping in and out on the Normie TV channel and all the other platforms are on. So,
All right.
go meet the crowd.
Thanks. I'm going to. Bye.
Bye. So here we are trying something new, going mobile and live at the same time. So give me one moment. We'll see what else is happening here. Hopefully you should see our Normie booth. And now we're just going to kind of walk around here. It's David McGrath. Hello, David. Can't miss David in that suit. And as you can see, it's pretty crowded. I'm going to stay kind of close to our booth here. Just kind of giving you an idea of what's going on in the area. Walk a little bit further down. This place is pretty big here. And again, a lot of the other companies that we deal with all the time, they're in the general area here, and we'll be talking with someone a little bit later on. So hang in there, and we'll be back with another interview in about 5 minutes. DeGraff.
How you doing, Lance?
Good. And you talking there?
I can. Is it working?
I don't know. Maybe you killed the microphone. Run two. You're good. Okay.
Have to raise my voice.
I think it's the suit.
Ah.
I think the color is definitely wiping you out here.
The suit drowns everything out. That's why I don't need to exist.
Well, you wore a suit like that during the last show.
It's become the status quo. Everybody expects it from me, and they're significantly disappointed if I do any alteration of the design.
Well, your company is always on call, and it's a manpower resource, I guess is the best way.
We are supplemental labor specifically for the restoration industry. I have 20 years experience in restoration. It's all I know. It's what we do. And therefore it's what my guys know and do. We do restoration yesterday. We did it today, and we're going to go do it tomorrow again.
Well, you know, you're here at the show. I mean, you're not an exhibitor, but you are an exhibit. I think that's the best way to describe it, because everybody says, what is he wearing?
Bright orange suit. It gets the eyes on me. And, you know, if I need a part-time job as a traffic cone or something, that goes over pretty well too. I don't need to change.
Well, the big question is it AA or 9-volt batteries?
You can't see the car battery I carry around with me.
Is that what that is? Okay.
That's what's in the bag over there.
So on the realistic side, I mean, you're down in Florida. That's where home base is.
Yes.
And the hurricane had just come through there. I mean, there's another one out in the tropics right now. But how has that affected what's going on in your world?
I mean, overall, it wasn't a significant hit, and it did enter at a rather unpopulated area as far as, you know, comparable storms. We've had a slight uptick. I think we've mobilized 100 people to the area for about 3 or 4 different companies over the last 72 hours or so. So we are active in the area, but it is not nearly the response or, you know, the result that everybody was expecting. So it was, thankfully it was pretty light. You know, there wasn't a lot of damage. There was no loss of life. So, you know, just getting in there, cleaning back and getting life back together for everybody.
Hopefully it kind of stays that way. I know that we've been looking at, there's like 4 or 5 other storms out in the Atlantic right now. And they're talking about one that's forecast to become a Cat 4 in the next few days.
Yeah.
And they don't know where it's going.
That's always the crapshoot. I mean, you can plan the best you want, and then you sit there and wait and see what actually happens, you know, and you could be 300 miles off before it goes. You know how these things turn on a dime. We had the one set off the coast of Florida that was supposed to destroy the world about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, but it saw your suit and it turned right. I think that was a distraction. Oh, no, we're not going there.
Hey, if that's what it takes, you know,
Yeah,
keep
that'll
people
work.
safe, saving lives,
That'll work.
one orange suit at a time.
You know, it's funny when I was riding here to the convention center from the airport, I've been out to Vegas maybe, 8, 9 times now. I noticed something very specific. There's green on the trees, everything else is brown, and then orange, which is all traffic cones and you. And that's it. That's all you see out here.
I had a great observation about that too. Only people want to put green in the desert, human beings.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So what do you think of the show? I mean, it just opened and it's mobbed here.
Yeah, jam packed. Definitely a great turnout. Very exciting event. It's nice to see, one of the original events still being a flagship as it is. And, the new ownership, they're trying really hard and the results are paying off. I'm happy to be here again.
Well, I'm glad you're here. It always, for comic relief, if nothing else, we appreciate you being here. And you do a lot of work with us. You help with some of our trainings. You provide actually lunches and, other resources. So we do appreciate that.
I appreciate Normie since day one. I took my first class with Normie when they required us to be certified and for licensed in the state of Florida. And I maintained a lot of classes and we built a long-term relationship and you guys have had my back. And frankly, it's something I'm extremely humbled by and appreciative of. So thank you very much, Normie and Lance as well.
Well, you're welcome. But the question now is, are you going to be here for the rest of the show?
100%.
Do we have a different flavor suit or?
I'm not allowed, apparently. I went to one of the last trade shows and I swapped out the orange pants for black pants and 50% of the people that complimented me criticized me. They're like, you're not wearing orange pants anymore. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll go change.
Okay, so you just stay with your orange glow.
You got to please the fans, Lance.
I get it. I get it. Well, thank you for stopping by. And, again, over the next 2 or 3 days, stop by. We'll chat some more. I want to get some feedback from you as, what you're seeing at the show compared to the one that we saw in the springtime.
Absolutely. Would love to be back. Thanks for having us.
All righty. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Take care. Lance here from Normie.tv, and we are again going to be live today at the Experience Trade Show in Las Vegas. Doors are going to open here in about 10 minutes, and the crowd that we had yesterday seems to be small compared to what we're looking for today. So there were a lot of people here for the training tracks that we had running earlier today. We did quite a few presentations, and we expect a very large crowd in the main trade show hall itself. So we'll be coming to you later on and off between now and the next 3-4 hours with interviews, and possibly we can do another walk around and show you some more vendors and some of the new products that are going on. So if you are following us on any of the social media platforms, you will get notifications when we go live, like you hopefully did for this. And if not, you may want to follow us so you do get future notifications. Again, you can always watch us at Normie.tv or on most of the major social media platforms. Just look up Normie and you should find us. See you all in a little bit. Thank you. Other interview, and I apologize for us coming in and out, but we have people that just keep coming over and talking with us and want to be involved in the process. So here we are. So I have Joshua with us from Property Craft out of Colorado.
Yes, sir.
And well, tell us a little about yourself, because I'm not really familiar with you other than what we just had a slight conversation.
Yeah, no worries. I born and raised in Southern Colorado. Property restoration. So the water, the fire, the flood, the smoke, the mold, the odor. We also have an environmental division that does asbestos, lead, land reclamation, a lot of indoor air quality, just try to be a voice for the property.
So you're dealing with that niche market of people that have to breathe, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we've really tried to bring air quality into all aspects of our business, not just microbial growth, not just asbestos or lead. We're really paying attention to what the air quality is as we're doing a category 1 water loss and really trying to make that environment better as we move through the process.
Oh, okay. So in Colorado, there's no licensing laws.
There's no licensing laws for microbial growth, but that's a platform that I'm standing strong on. And I really do that. We need to start to regulate ourselves as we move forward. We are over-regulated with asbestos, which I love, but it holds the contractor accountable to doing things right, not only for themselves, their employees, but for the property owners and the public that's within those structures as well.
You know what you just said just kind of struck a chord with me, because during a lot of the courses that we teach, I refer back to something that my kids experience going through band and everything else in high school, that the instructor would constantly tell them to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And that's just what it sounds like you're
Yep.
talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's something that within our company, we really try to strive, not only with our employees, but everybody that we're involved with, from all of our subcontractors, our electricians, our HVACs, really trying to get them to start to understand that from that perspective as well. We are in construction, but there's no reason that we can't construct clean and keep that environment well as we're moving forward. My dad's a regional building inspector in Pueblo County, and so he's part of that regional authority. So it gets real fun around our dinner table all the time.
I could see that, everybody leave the silverware on the table when we talk, nothing flies. Hey, so as far as Colorado goes, is there anything in the wind as far as regulation or licensing on the microbial side?
Not that I've heard of. Our company in general, we're on a growth phase, and we're going to move outside of Colorado at some point. As I talk to my C-suite, as I talk to my other owner, we're looking at the states that are actually regulated and starting to regulate a little bit heavier. I think I had said it earlier in the conversation, the asbestos is definitely over-regulated. Right. So not only do we have the EPA, OSHA, but we have CDPHE as well. And it's trying to find the regulation that's most stringent and working our way through that. But if you can follow those sets of rules, the process, it's there for a reason. I never thought I'd be sitting up here saying, hey, we need to be more regulated. But the farther I get in this industry, the farther I work with water, mold, fire, air quality, the more I'm becoming an advocate for us needing to have some sort of regulation.
Well, without the regulation, you're standing out there on the edge by yourself.
Yeah.
And you're competing against people that aren't following any rules or regulations.
Yep, absolutely.
And doing things that are not helpful to the industry. And then you come in trying to do it right, and you're questioned and scrutinized. So we see that all over the country, because we teach in all 5 states, and counting DC as a state, that require licensing. And we've actually sent to all governors over the last 5 or 10 years a draft of a bill that kind of works a combination of what all the other states are doing that are licensed. And you get some movement, but it just drags on, and nobody wants to make those decisions.
Yep. I Property Crafts behind you 100%. Whatever you need in Colorado from us, we'll be there with you.
Well, we're not as big out on the West Coast as we are on the East, but we do have a lot of classes and a lot of personnel now starting to take over out there. And I'm just sorry, I'm not distracted. I'm just looking around watching people, wandering, taking stuff off our table. We have the Normie TV stickers and keychain things, whatever. So
this conference it's huge right now. If you're around, get over here, at least come to the exhibit, come say hi to Normie. There is so many vendors here. It's unbelievable.
Anything shock you this year? Anything new?
I literally came here right at 2:30, and I've been kind of sitting in this area. I haven't made it all the way through yet. So
are you going to be in any of the training tracks?
I decided this time not to do it. I just got done with the experience in Fort Lauderdale in April. Worked all summer long. Did the CORE conference, the CORE Collective conference last week in Austin, Texas. And so I decided not to do any of the tracks this time. Shame on me, but didn't want to miss the exhibit.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. That's the important part.
Thank you.
Well, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lance. Very nice to chat with you.
Doing interviews the next few days, so feel free to stop back.
Absolutely. We'll make sure to get some of my team over as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance.
We'll say Mark Quigley, which is the name that he goes by, for his friends, which apparently I have now considered. So this is all good. So how you doing?
Pretty good, Lance. Thanks very much.
Yeah, Mark's been with us for quite some time. He's got through some of our training, and you're located in South Florida, right?
Yeah, Southwest, over in Naples.
Oh, okay. Well, you were down there for all the damage from the previous storms from last year.
Actually, Hurricane Ian. So we're still struggling with some of that damage. So yep, it hit us pretty hard.
Well, you weren't affected by the recent storm that just went through. That was north of you guys.
Yeah, it a little bit more rain, but no, it hit up quite a way north of us. So no, not at all.
Well, I don't know if it's good or bad, but there's 5 storms out there now. And there's one they're forecasting as a Cat 4. They don't know where it's going. They say it's heading east. I mean, towards the east coast. So anyways, kind of keep your fingers crossed it doesn't cause.
Yeah, I'm not
devastation.
surprised at all, especially with the temperature of the ocean. So
Somebody said that around a week or two ago that the Atlantic Ocean by Miami hit 101 degrees.
yeah, I heard that. That's just bizarre.
The same report I was watching was talking about them going to a category 6 and 7 on the hurricane scale because of the increase in the water temperatures. They feel they're going to need to increase that. It's almost up to tornado speeds.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's just yeah, that would be horrific.
Now, as far as your business goes down there, because I know you've been busy, what are you seeing as far as the industry? Because I know there's a big shift in insurance and everything down there. A lot of insurance companies are bailing out of the state.
Right. So even though I've done the Normie training and I'm a licensed mold assessor, I'm actually from the biohazard industry. So
Right.
that's where a lot of my time is really spent. So we could be looking at unattended death or suicides or those type of things. But bio also brings into being bacterial contaminations.
Right.
And so a lot of people ask me to come and test because I'm a mold assessor, so I will test, but I'm looking at it from a slightly different point of view. And so I will test for mold, I'll test for mycotoxins, I'll test for bacteria. And so we know, insurance will cover for mold, but it gets a little bit hazier when it comes to biohazard. So a lot of the homeowner policies do actually cover for that, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. So I don't generally deal with insurance at all. So because of the fields that I'm in.
Do you do crime scene cleanup?
Yes. Yep. Uh-huh.
How about things like fentanyl, meth labs, stuff like that?
Yeah. So it's with fentanyl, it's becoming a pretty severe problem. So yes, there is that as well.
I know I can tell you in the Northeast, fentanyl has gotten so bad that it's now acceptable to sell Narcan over the counter from almost all drugstores. They're actually giving it away if you contact the state. They're just giving out Narcan to counteract the fentanyl effects.
Yeah.
And dealing with that, that's one of the things that, the people that are listening right now, if you're in this industry and you're dealing with crime scene cleanup or just in general, being aware of fentanyl is a must, because you can come in contact with it and not realize it and all of a sudden become a victim of it without being somebody that's a user.
Yeah, well, I was talking to one of the county that I'm in, I reside in and operate in is Collier County. And I was talking to the undersheriff there a couple of months ago, and he was saying it's becoming a major concern, and there isn't a week that goes by where one of their patrol cars is contaminated. And he even went to extent saying that while there aren't the proliferation of labs, he's expecting it to come. So yeah, it's becoming a growing problem. And so you walk into a contaminated space or an unattended death. I mean, how did that death happen? And so you need to know, was it a drug overdose? Because there is certainly different protocols that you've got to undertake for the cleanup.
One of the big things that we've been talking about with a lot of our members in trainings is being aware of fentanyl and some of the other street drugs, if you want to call it, that are out there that you're not aware of. You could be going in to do a simple mold job. I'm not saying simple, but just something isolated to mold, and come in contact with all this other stuff, dealing with hoarders, dealing with drug addicts. You don't know the people that you're dealing with. And if you don't know how to recognize the symptoms, if you're being affected, it could be too late by the time that you do realize something's wrong. So being aware of that's just something that you have to know.
Well, that's exactly right. So, I mean, one of the things that I do first and foremost is doing a risk assessment. And so if I step onto a site, I've got to assess that risk. What is the risk to myself? What is the risk to my team? And what is the risk to the future inhabitants of that scene? So yeah, that's one of the first steps that have, you've got to undertake.
One of the things that we see with a lot of our members, and we try to talk about this, and it's a touchy subject, is when you're doing interviews and you're doing your risk assessment, as you call it, you want to listen to the person you talk to. You want to believe what they're telling you. But more times than not, they're not giving you the truth, or at least a full picture of what's really going on. I mean, I've been in the emergency medical field for almost 50 years. And we were, for the last 10 years or so, dealing with people wearing fentanyl patches. And, they'll have a prescription for a fentanyl patch. Problem is, you'll see somebody going through an overdose, and you take their patch off. And as you're checking them, you're finding another 8, 9, 10 patches stuck to them. And these things are dermal absorbent, meaning if you touch them or touch their skin, you are getting affected by it. So if you're not using gloves and PPE or sometimes masks, you could become a victim of trying to help somebody or clean up an environment.
Well, I mean, that's exactly right. And so any situation, the minimum that I walk in with is a powered air respirator. And I learned that lesson the hard way in 2013 down in New Zealand. I had an active asbestos sampling business, surveying business down there, and used to sample a lot of mold as well. And so the government department that we were testing for at that time, they asked us to test this particular building. My mold assessor was there, my asbestos assessor was there, and I was the only one there without breathing apparatus. And I went there because I was going to be there for less than a couple of minutes. I just wanted to set these two guys up, and I was gone. And so did that, walked out. That night I got pretty sick, and luckily the next day I was scheduled to fly back home to Naples, and I ended up on my back for the next 8 weeks under the care of a immunologist because I got mold poisoning. And so that's how I discovered I was highly allergic to mold. But so any environment I generally walk into that is a known contamination, I'm always protecting myself. But even when I'm just asked to go into just an ordinary home, for the last 2 years, ever since COVID happened, I have prioritized my immune system. So I will always be doing things that will undertake to strengthen the immune system, just in case I'm going to step into a contamination that I'm not aware of.
Do you find that on some mold jobs that you're doing, you start to cross the lines into like the crime scene side of meth labs?
No, it's pretty clear cut. So for me, I will get asked to sample for either mold or mycotoxins, and then when I'm asked to deal with a unattended death, then the police have already been involved, and the scene is cleared before anybody else can step in. So yeah, there is a pretty clear delineation between what sort of things that we're dealing with.
So a little bit outside the normal conversation, do you deal with any specialized equipment like explosion meters and stuff like that? For sampling the environments that you're going into just for your own?
No, nothing really. It's I mean the main sampling that I do is I do sample a little bit for asbestos, but I'm nothing like I used to do in New Zealand. I mean, down in New Zealand, I did over 200,000 samples. Here, what I discovered is that the licenses that I held for New Zealand and Australia, once I got north of the equator, my intelligence diminished and those licenses weren't recognized up here, so I can't use them.
Right.
So I don't really do that much of that type of sampling. So the only sampling I'm really doing is mold, mycotoxins, or bacteria.
As far as asbestos, because you mentioned that earlier, I know for years they talked about removing asbestos. You got to remove it. You got to remove it. You got to use leaf blowers and blow out all the spores and do all that. Now it's shifted, at least in the US, to leave in place and encapsulate. Is it that way in Australia and New Zealand?
Yes, because the hierarchy of asbestos is, or actually really any hazardous material, it is removal first. And if you can't remove it, you encapsulate it. If you can't encapsulate it, you seal it. And so the ultimate is to remove it. But sometimes if it isn't in bad repair and the fibers aren't being released, then yes, it's probably better to either encapsulate or seal. So that, yes, it really depends on the circumstance.
So where do you see the industry going? And I'm going to ask more specific to the crime scene cleanup and the fentanyl problem.
Well, yeah, it's a growing business, growing industry, really, because it's becoming more and more prevalent. And so, I'm in an environment, an aging environment, being Naples, a lot of retirees. So, I'm not going to say that it's God's waiting room, but it's one of them. So,
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because the aging population, I'm changing gears here, is one of the fastest growing segments of the population to abuse illegal drugs. Heroin, methadone, and any of the other drugs that are pain relief, because it's cheaper to buy off the street than it is to get prescriptions, if you can even get prescriptions now. So you're running into any of that. I mean, fentanyl is a big problem because of pain relief.
right. Well, no, it's not something that I've really come across. It's again, I'm stepping into an unattended death that's already been cleared by the authorities. So it's not as if I've got to drag the body out.
Right, you come in after the medical examiner has done their deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's the cleaning side that you deal with.
Yeah.
No, and I understand that. The problem is the unknowns. Do you get a history or a report from law enforcement of what you're dealing with? Or are you going in blind and just have to ask questions?
No, you've got to ask questions. So really it begins with a phone call. So the initial phone call that you ask, it's a who, what, when, where, and how. And so you gather as much information as you can before you step into that scene. But one thing I have noticed with a lot of the hoarding cleanups we do, hypodermic needles.
Yeah.
It's which it was initially was quite surprising, and so it's you've got to be prepared for the worst. So even if it has been cleared or whatever, there'll be things that you perhaps didn't expect to find.
You know, it's funny you said that. You mentioned who, what, where, when. Tomorrow, I'm actually doing a presentation on sampling technologies. And the one question that you didn't ask is why. And with what you do, why isn't important. But with the assessment side, testing, the type of testing, it's all about why you do it, why you don't do it. So it's just interesting the way that you listed all of them except for the one on the testing side.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
well, as you can see, the industries are very, very closely matched to each other.
Right.
Crime scene cleanup, mold assessment, mold remediation, water drying, biohazards. It all works together, but it all has its own specific differences.
Yeah, definitely. It's well, I was involved in the hazard industry down in the South Pacific, and now here I'm involved in the biohazard, but there are certain definite crossovers. And so biohazard here, mold industry here, there are certain crossovers. So you're exactly right. There is certain similarities between all the industries.
I have to ask you, so you mentioned South Pacific. One of the things that I've come across that people don't think about is plants. Now, the different environments and regions that we live in have obviously different types of plants that grow. There's a lot of very toxic and poisonous plants out there. Do you ever run into that at crime scenes or regular mold jobs?
No, not at all. I haven't. No.
Hey, the only reason I bring that up is my wife loves exotic plants. And we have a lot of tropical plants, even though I live in New Jersey. So we bring them in the house, out of the house, depending on the season. There's certain plants, especially we have a few from Hawaii, that the sap is actually poisonous or toxic. That, it's a gorgeous looking plant. It is, unless you ingest or touch the toxins.
Yeah. Well, I think the closest I come to poisonous plants is southern vine or those type of things, but they're outside really. So no, not an issue.
Well, the other point to that is there's a drug called Digitalis that is a drug that's used for regulating heart rates. It can actually stop a heart, and it is in a plant called, I believe, foxglove,
Right.
which is very common throughout the U.S. and many parts of the world. That people don't realize just handling that plant can cause your heart rate to change to fast or slow or things like that. And this is all involved around not being a crime, but just being the unexpected things that you come in contact with. And as crime scene cleanup, you never know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. I mean, it is a crime scene. So with those sort of situations, the person has stepped outside of the law. So you don't know what they've been involved with.
Right. And truthfully, the word truthfully doesn't really apply because
Exactly.
you're not going to get that information from the people that you're working for
Yep.
or with.
Yep,
So,
for sure.
all right. Well, I appreciate your time. Your insight is always interesting because the
Yep.
crime scene side is different than what we normally deal with. And I know we want to start getting more advanced to crime scene exposure training, because even if you're not doing the cleanup, you need to be aware of what to look for.
Right, of course. Yep.
So, one of the things about meth labs is the volatility of the chemistry. Going in with electronics and just starting them up could cause an explosion.
Right, of course.
That's why I asked you earlier about explosion meters. It's different things that fire departments would carry. But, it sounds like you have a procedure, you have a practice that you go through for safety, which is something that all of our people need to do no matter what piece of the industry they're in.
Yeah, for sure.
So I thank you, sir. Appreciate it as
Always
always.
a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Lance. So anytime.
And like I said, we're going to be here for the next few days. So we may drag you back in here for something else.
Yep, no problem.
All right. Thank you very much. Give
Thanks
me
a
one
lot.
second here. Okay, everybody, we are back, and I have Michael Pinto with me right now, who is one of our Normie members and senior trainers, actually. And we did quite a bit of training this morning where Michael actually did the final session in our training track dealing with mycotoxins and dealing with sensitized individuals, I believe.
It was very exciting, and it is pretty much new information. The science has been collecting slowly, in my opinion, over the last 12 or 14 years. But when you finally put it all together and actually see the picture that is painting for you about mycotoxins and the dangers that they pose for people and why they're so difficult to clean up and why we have to adjust our cleaning methodologies to deal with them, it really is kind of mind-blowing for a lot of people.
Well, you had standing room only in there this afternoon. I was in there and I took a look and said, every chair is like filled here, it's standing room only. So people are getting aware or becoming aware of the sensitized individual issue, and they want more info on it.
Well, the sensitized individuals, and then that ties back to the mycotoxins, because the poisons are clearly what's causing a lot of the health effects for these sensitized individuals. So for those folks who aren't as familiar with that terminology, the medical science, the physical science in regards to the mold, the sampling science, and the remediation science are all coming to a focal point right now that's helping us understand the importance of the mycotoxins, and most importantly, how to deal with the mycotoxins.
How about the medical field? Are they paying real attention to this, or are they still, it's not quite in their arena?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because it's really segments of the medical field. The naturopaths and the the doctors that specialize with and the physician assistants and things like that specialize with the sensitized individuals, they get mycotoxins. They're on it. 4 or 5 years ago, when I was talking about mycotoxins and had the sense from some of the kind of more esoteric research studies and stuff that they were more dangerous or bigger part of the problem than what we understand now, or that we now understand. There was some skepticism on the side of the medical professionals, but the ones who are dealing with sensitized individuals, they get it. The majority of the medical professionals, however, don't deal with that, and they still don't get mold, let alone mycotoxins. So two different parts.
We see that all the time, where somebody will go to a doctor or an allergist, and they're treated with all kinds of injections and oral medications, and it's sent back to the environment that's causing them the problems.
Yeah, and I certainly don't want to paint with too broad of a brush or say anything negative toward our medical professional colleagues and stuff, but people don't understand. A lot of times the allergist, just by their training and by the way that whole industry is developed, they're about symptom control. They're not necessarily about solving the problem. And so then when you add the extra of the problem solving goes into the environment rather than into the person necessarily, then you've got two strikes against you.
Yeah.
And so we've done little training seminars and things for allergists, and by and large, they're not interested.
No,
And
and I've seen that because I've talked with allergists too. And no, we stay in our lane. We provide allergy shots and medications, but nobody addresses the cause.
Yeah, it's symptoms versus cause. And I would point out that that's some of that is actually true for the remediation industry too. How many people are there just to rip out the mold and never, take a close look at where the water's coming from, or how is the HVAC working or not working? And how many times have we talked about HVAC units being oversized for a house, and then you've got excess humidity? Well, if you're just dealing with the mold itself and not fixing those underlying issues, those poor people are left. What is it going to be? 6 months, a year, before the mold comes back because you didn't solve the water problem.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I did a presentation this morning. Actually, my segment was before yours. And I talked to the group about words mean things, but they mean different things depending on what industry you're in, what your education level is, what you're exposed to. And telling somebody something that we take for granted because we know how it affects people, they hear something different. And it's very confusing when you try to tell somebody you need to, well, why? It doesn't make sense. My doctor said this.
Yes. And not to turn it completely back toward myself or anything, but that's one of the reasons that the presentation this morning on the mycotoxins was laid out the way that it was. It was foundational first. We have to, people don't even know what mycotoxins are, where they come from, why they stick on surfaces, why they're difficult to clean. So, if you don't back up and start with those basics, even people who have been in the industry for 10, 15 years, they're looking at you, well, why should I change what I'm doing now? Right? Because it's been working so far. Well, it's been working for some. And, I'm not denigrating that, but for the sensitized individual, or you run into a situation where the mycotoxins are playing a heavier role in the exposure issues, and your standard remediation just isn't going to cut it.
Right. And that causes frustration with the people that aren't being trained or not being trained, but the public that you're dealing with. And then you start to get a bad reputation because you're not fixing the issue, because you're not addressing the sensitized individual's needs.
Yeah. And worse than that, though, you're getting a bad reputation, but you're getting a bad reputation to the rest of the industry too.
Yeah.
So how many times have I heard by the time the client gets to us, we've had 3 remediations, we've had 4 remediations. These people are, suffering a little bit.
Absolutely. I've had 6 people out here doing this, and it's over and over. Why are you any different? What are you going to, and then you get to explain to them, the different levels of training and the causes. It makes sense to people at that point. Though you did say something a moment ago that just hit me, and it's a line from a movie I saw. You said, turning around about me, what you were saying.
Yeah.
I said, I think the line from the movie went something like, okay, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about me? Just breaking it up from.
I like that. So what do you think?
I can't say. It's just live.
Yeah, it's
there's
true.
no editing here.
It's true.
No, it was really great. It is great working with you. We've done some training together. I've attended a lot of your classes. I've done a lot of the admin support, behind the scenes. So we've worked on a lot of stuff, and the reception that you're given from the students is really, it can be, I guess, overwhelming, because they just want to flock around you. Tell me more, and they become information sponges, and you just can't give it to them fast enough.
Yes, and a lot of that is because they aren't getting the answers from people that they expect to get the answers from.
Right.
And I would say the other thing I've kind of made my career on is being that bridge between the professional and the layperson. And I thank God I've got an ability, and it's a gift, to take these very complex issues and present them in a way that people understand at a common level. And it's not saying that people are dumb or anything like that. It's just they don't spend all day reading the studies and being the mold geek like
they're not
I am.
exposed to the industry.
Right.
They don't see that. One of the things that we found out about some of the more advanced courses that you teach, we have to be cautious that you don't let somebody in that has no training.
Right.
Because it becomes a detriment to the class, because they're so far behind, they don't understand. And then they're asking questions that the majority of the class that has training already knows the information. So it's something that becomes difficult. You don't want to make prerequisites. However, it's something that we really need to discuss and talk about for these classes.
Yeah, because you have to respect the other people in the class too.
Yeah.
You can't have one person. You run into the other issue too sometimes, where people have a lot of experience and they come in and because of the experience they have, they almost act like they're a co-instructor. They just want to comment on everything that you say. And at some point it's like, I appreciate that, but you know, if you want to be an instructor, develop your own material and
Yeah.
talk to Normie and see if it passes muster to do a class. But
You're right.
the other thing I did want to mention is that the training also has to be based on something real. And one of the reasons I think it's such a good fit with Wonder Makers and Normie is because Normie talks about professional practices. They talk about this is what you need to do. This is the goal that you need to meet for your different remediation steps.
And there's endpoints. It's not just open, you know,
Right.
there's requirements and things that you have to reach in order to qualify that job is done right.
Right. So sometimes it's not so much, there can be a lot of flexibility in the how we're going to do things, but ultimately we have to get to that endpoint. We have to know where that project is going to end. And then that's what the professional practices do for us. They tell us both how to get there, but they also, because there's steps to it, but they also say at the end, this is what the end result should look like. And that's huge.
So let me put you on the spot here. And what do you think the chances are that we could take the segment you did this morning and actually do it for a Normie continuing education training?
Okay, just put me right on the spot. Thank you there,
There
Lance.
you
I
are.
appreciate that.
Not that we're twisting your arm or anything.
Yeah, so now what am I supposed to say? No?
Well,
Well, thank you for the offer.
you got to remember, it's not about you. It's about me thinking about you. You know, that's where that goes.
Yes. Well, actually, what it should be would be about us serving the Normie membership. And if you think that what you heard today was good enough that you would like to put it up on the training and everything, I would be honored. I mean, it's the presentation's already done. And so it's not that much more work to just go through it another time. And I'm sure there's a lot of Normie members who weren't able to make it down here to the Experience Conference. And I think that would be a forum, and then people could, you know, ask some questions and stuff too.
Sure could. You know, one of the things that, you know, I always talk about is with technology, don't fear the technology. You don't have to understand it completely, but you have to be aware that it's there. Same thing with this. Don't fear learning about mycotoxins and more advanced training and technology in this industry. Be aware that it exists though, because you can always say, I don't know the answer, but I know where to go to get it.
Exactly. And the fact of the matter is that one of the things we talk about in the session and certainly can emphasize a little bit on the, member training is just some clues that you should be familiar with to know that you're walking into the, kind of the mycotoxin minefield.
Sure.
So that, because that's going to be the thing that hurts people the most, is that they are doing their standard remediation. They're having great success with that. They expect that this next project is going to be pretty straightforward.
And the conditions have changed and the requirements have changed.
Or the occupant is different. Right. And if they don't have enough information to identify those clues that tells them that, then they could be in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, I think it would be very beneficial for any crowd that we can put, whether it's online or in person, in front of you to learn about this technology, about the research that's been done, about things that they can do to improve the work that they're doing for these sensitized individuals, which is what, 25% of the population now?
Yeah. Yeah. I want to pick up on that comment too, because one of the things that's most important to me is this idea that in the restoration industry in general, and even in the mold remediation industry, there's so much MUS, that's muss, made up stuff.
Yep.
And so the information that I brought forward this morning that I'm, that we'll have to set up a time to share with the rest of the Normie membership, it's not made up stuff. It's science. It's documented. It's, you do the hard work. You got to get the footnotes. You got to have the studies, legitimate peer-reviewed studies, so that, it's real science behind it. And as I explained in the session this morning, it's not that anecdotal data isn't useful. So if I run a project the same way 5 times and I have success 5 times in a row, that's anecdotal data. And that tells me, okay, I'm on to something. But that's not scientific data that
Right.
is explaining why you're having that particular success.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because this morning during my presentation, and what mine was about all different types of sampling technology and equipment and things out there. But it all comes down to the question, why? Why do you use that device? Why do you do that type of sample? Why don't you do that kind? And this industry doesn't always address why things are done. And that's what needs to be there.
And I mean, we'll take it back one step previous to that. The one before you was Doug talking about assessments. And it's the same thing. Why do you do the assessments? Why should you do a better assessment than what you're doing right now? And he's got like 6 things there. You're protecting yourself from liability. You're answering the question is what's going on. You're helping to write a work plan. I mean, he goes through that whole list, but by and large, it's answering the why question so that you can then move confidently from the why to the what are we going to do.
You know, it's funny. I talked with Doug before I did the presentation, and he made a change to the PowerPoint that I had set up for it. It was the word "why" that was on the screen. We're in Vegas. He changed it to WHY on dice. We're in Vegas. It had to be that way. So
Yeah.
it made the point.
Indeed.
Indeed. Well, thank you, sir.
What a blessing.
Been a pleasure. And we'll do more of this, and we will get together as far as picking a time to do a recertification training or some sort of training with your presentation that you did today for the Norton membership. And we'll see about doing it on an open feed like this.
Yeah. And I just got to tell you, thank you, Lance. I mean, if you thought it was good enough to actually invite me back to share with the other Normie members, that's high praise for me. And I appreciate
Absolutely.
you very much. I
Well, thank
joke
you.
with you too much, but I do appreciate you.
Now, you know what? It's such a serious industry, yet you have to lighten up a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I went to a woman's house once to do an assessment. She was terrified that we were going to find mold and it was going to be a horrific situation. And I could see how she was shaking. And I took her by the arm and I said, come with me. And we walked to the front door. And I said, do you see a bulldozer out there? She's looking. She said, no. I said, we're not knocking your house down. We're just here talking. Relax. It's not that bad. And she calmed down. So there's a fear out there, and we really need to help people with that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's too many people in the industry, remediators and assessors, who think it's their job to put that fear in
Fear into
people because I would just say because they can then take advantage of them. And I'm sorry to have to say that about people in our own industry, but there's people in every industry that are going to not do it the right way either.
Well, the easy way is we try to set a bar at a high level, and the measurement of that bar is you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
That's right.
And that's it.
And that's what those practices, those Normie professional practices are all based on. That's why those practices get adjusted on a fairly regular basis to keep up with what's
Exactly.
going on in the industry. I'm telling you, I'm so excited to be part of Normie. That is a plug direct to you guys because
Okay. We'll take it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Enough
man.
about you. What do you think about me?
Yeah.
We'll go
No,
back to
no.
that.
It's enough about me. It's what I think about Normie.
Right.
So there you go.
Thank you,
Blessings.
sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Stand by a second. Experience live. And we are now talking with one of the players, we'll call you, Mike Belzano from BMP Media,
BMP Media.
R&R.
I'm the publisher of R&R.
And these guys are running the show.
Yeah, you can believe that. And I used to, I always try. I wanted to avoid being called a player when I was younger. And I don't know,
Okay.
somehow I lured my wife into marrying
Trust
me.
me, you're not
anyway.
younger
I'm
anymore.
not.
Neither am I.
No,
It's
we
okay.
had the discussion way too much, you and me.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
We are, yeah, I mean, our company purchased the experience last year, and we'll probably, Larry, this is Larry Cooper's last show, as has been well documented. So starting on Saturday, we're gonna take over. We're really excited about this. What a great event this has been for so long, and we're just honored to be in it, really.
I've gone to many of the experience shows with Larry doing it, and it's always been such a warm, friendly feeling. And last show was your first one. under new management. And I noticed a big change even with this one, feeling more like the old Experience show, which is nice.
That's great to hear. Thank you. We one of the things we wanted to do, I mean, this is such a traditional event. Both of the events are so traditional and they're so ingrained in our industry. The last thing we want to do is come up and say, you know what? We're changing the name. We're changing. We're not. No. We want to make it. It's hands-on is the key. Family friendly, fun, things like that. We definitely aren't going to end that anytime soon.
Well, I think one of the big transitions, and we talked about this over the last show, you guys run a lot of other shows also, but this one's kind of special, you know, and I think it's outside the normal mold. And I think you guys got it, you know, I think you listened.
Yeah, BNP Media runs 65 events, and we have about 40 or 50 other regular media brands like R&R. So they do this a lot. They do this for a long time, and you're exactly right. This is not a cookie cutter event, and
No.
we learned that quickly. Yeah, it's just dense. There's a lot of fun things. I learned something today. You know, I'm supposed to be having some kind of a boss type role starting
Okay.
Saturday. I'm like, oh, you know what? I better look into that.
What do you mean I'm in charge? Where'd that come
Me?
from?
Let this happen.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. I think we're in a position now to kind of. And I was talking to Larry the other day. We just want to. And as you know, we gave him an award last night, but for good reason. He's been a leader of our industry for a long time, and I think that what we want to do is just expand on it if we can. Take what's been great and maybe see how we could tweak it to make it a little better.
Well, I noticed, I mean, obviously this is your bigger show. You do 2 experiences a year and this is the bigger of the 2, but it's been crowded.
It's a good show. It came out, and it's funny. These events are all like this. The attendance is down, attendance is down, losing sleep. And then suddenly the last month, it all comes together. It always seems to work out like that, but it's still, I don't know. It's my Italian and Polish upbringing makes me scared of that a little bit.
Well, you know, it's funny because we did our training track today and I actually was a speaker on one of them. But when I wasn't, I was going around scanning the ID badges of people. And I started to hit a bunch of badges that wouldn't scan. And I noticed that they were all people from the UAV conference, all wanting to be in and watching our presentations.
There is a drone conference going on right now down
Yeah.
the street. And actually, some people have actually legitimately registered for both of us, not trying to sneak in like our drone
Well, they,
friends today.
they wouldn't scan, so I knew
Okay.
they were bad. But you know, they were sitting there watching the shows. Going, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
so
great.
yeah, so it was really interesting to see all these other people from a completely different industry sitting in on lectures on mold and indoor air quality, and you know, it's pretty good.
It is pretty good. And we have great content here. We have great relevant content. You know, you talk about, I know you on the IAQ station on Normie TV. There's a few other brands I work for being media. The IAQ it's so important. It's crossing over so many brands. I listened to some of our keynote speakers today. Legitimately, you know, we all wanted to clean and watch the air quality during the pandemic. And suddenly when the pandemic ended, I guess everybody thought, well, problem solved, we're good. But you and I both know
Yeah.
that's just simply not
It's not.
true.
Well, the strange thing, I don't say funny, but the strange thing about when COVID hit, the population that we've been trying to talk to for years realized that breathing is a thing. It seems to be something important now. We need to pay attention to that. And there was such awareness brought to it that
Yeah.
now people are starting to listen when you talk about other things that are out there affecting their health.
Mhm.
You know, when you go to the doctor and they treat your symptom and then send you back to the same place that made you sick, they say, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And they're coming back to the indoor air quality.
Yeah.
You know, I have a good friend that owns a very large air conditioning company,
Mhm.
and they deal with major hospitals and school systems and everything. And he says, oh, we stay in our niche. I said, well, your niche is growing because of what's happening with buildings. He goes, what do you mean? I said, when's the last time you went into a commercial building that had windows that opened? They can't do away with the services you provide.
You're right.
You
That's
know,
a great point.
they don't open, whether it's for security purposes or for keeping temperature control. They don't have windows that open. And so your air conditioning company becomes the way that buildings breathe all year long. And he goes, you're right. You know, we've never looked at it that way.
I just watched Dr. Skinner's presentation yesterday, and
Dr. Gavin.
Dr. Gavin, he did a great job, as he always does. And he said some things like that. You know, we all were making jokes about touching dirty knobs and handles and stuff, because that's not, I didn't do anything. What happened was the fact that everything was flying through the air.
Yeah.
That was the problem. And it always is, whether there's COVID or not, that's always going to be the problem. And I think people are starting to really turn the corner and realize that that's what we got to look at. And I thank you and Normie for shining a light on that as well. So well.
Well, we talk about it, and during some of the trainings that I do, I talk about how come indoor air quality now has become an issue. And COVID was a main driving force for that. But when you put it in terms that people understand, where I tell them that you can go 20 to 40 days without eating, or a healthy adult can do that. You can go 3 to 7 days without drinking water. You got 4 to 6 minutes without breathing. That's it.
That's it.
So I think in the importance level, it's up there, because you can't say, I'll breathe tomorrow. You can't stop it. And the average person breathes 20,000 times a day. So wait a minute, you mean that's what I do? Well, yes, that's what you do. How can you not pay attention to it?
No, it's exactly right. It's more and more important. And you know what? I read somewhere too that I guess this is a duh thing to say, but you never think about it. When you're asleep, you breathe.
Yeah,
When you're walking, you breathe. The only time we think about breathing is when we're thinking about breathing. Other than that, we naturally do it.
Or if there's something wrong with the conditions we're breathing. The
Yes.
the wildfires in Canada again highlighted the problem. The eastern part of the United States. Now I know this part, the western part of the United States, deals with the fires from California all the time.
Right.
I'm on the East Coast. We don't have these issues. If it's a localized fire, something small, it goes away in a day. We were infiltrated, I guess the only way to do it, with smoke from Canada for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, you looked up at the sun and it was in the middle of the day, dark out. And we never experienced that. But the air quality got so bad, people couldn't go outside. And what stuck out in everybody's mind was the indoor air quality in most homes is 10 times more polluted than the outdoor air. So people that are sensitized go outside to feel better. They couldn't. So now they were looking at air that wasn't crystal clear. It was foggy, smoky, and it became an attention getter. It's like hitting somebody a cloudy glass of water. Drink that. I'm not drinking that. Well, you can't say I'm not breathing that.
Yeah. What do you mean? It's the same water. Why won't you drink that? Right.
Well, it's cloudy now.
Right.
So it hasn't been filtered as well or whatever. But it was an attention wake up moment for people.
Yeah. I used to work for a magazine called Snips, which deals in the HVAC, the duct sheet metal, the duct wing of it. So that's big IAQ wing. And then we learned a lot about that. And it's just fascinating how important that is. One of the things we go through life just taking for granted, but it's essential. And just continuing to work on it is what we're doing. And we're going to start, we do a lot at this event, the experience, frankly. There's a lot of discussions about that, a lot of discussions about cleaning, obviously restoration where we live. And again, and you hear a lot of happy people over there. There's a party has begun.
Yeah, well, they put the bar right next to our booth, which was okay.
Yeah. I have a funny feeling you picked this booth specifically for that.
Well, we were here first, and then they brought the
Okay.
bar over. I think Andrea was involved with that.
Andrea?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, she was involved.
Our lovely event manager, Andrea Hansen. She'll
Yes,
help out
and I
with that.
thanked her for that.
Yes.
I really did.
Very good.
So going forward,
Yes.
what do you see happening with the experience?
Well, we're going to be in Chattanooga the first week in April, and this specifically, that's what's right in front of us now. Right after the show, we'll start gearing up for that. We're going to be doing a plant tour at Shaw Flooring. That's the reason we're in Chattanooga actually for this.
Great.
And we'll be back here at the Caesars Forum next September, right after Labor Day. That's the traditional date.
Okay.
And as far as the ins and outs of the experience, what I'm doing is I'm going around from booth to booth and calling the sponsors and saying, look, we all love the experience. This is the time to discuss what you'd like to see. What I don't like this. I like this. Now, again, not wholesale changes at all. Just if you want to tweak something, if you'd like to see something, I can't think of a better time than now to have that discussion. And I'm ready to have that discussion. It's exciting.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the stranges we were discussing this the other night, we were sitting out at the lounge in the center of the Lynx Hotel where we're staying. And we're talking about the difference of going to an event in Las Vegas And one of the big things that came up was, besides the gambling and all the other, glitzy stuff, you can actually walk 5 minutes in any direction and come across an oxygen bar where you can sit and just breathe oxygen in for a few minutes to sober up, to feel better, to wake up. Or better yet, they now have IV stations with nurses
Yeah.
where you can go for an IV if you're dehydrated.
Well, you walk, I mean, that's great, by the way, number
It's
one.
not
That's
for me, but
right.
yeah,
I think a negative, usually I try to be positive, but with Las Vegas, I get a little negative sometimes, but you walk through the casinos and you breathe smoke for 10 minutes getting out. Yeah, I could go for some oxygen after that. It's probably a good idea.
I don't think it's the reason they do it, but how you doing? How you doing? Sorry, we got people just stopping by saying hello.
Your fans. I like it.
So, you know what? It's just a whole different experience out here. It really is.
Yeah.
If you could shorten the 6-hour plane ride, that would make it better. Coming from the East Coast.
You get a direct flight?
Yeah.
That's great. I couldn't even get that from Ohio. I had to stop in Denver and get that nice bumpiness over the Rockies, which is always so fun.
Depends on the time of the day
Right.
and the thermals rising and
Yes.
stuff. But yeah, we spoke with some of the pilots about that, and they were very friendly and wanted to talk about it.
Very
It's going
good.
to get a little rough now. Okay.
I think that this is where I think I can't ever predict this. I can't see us ever leaving Las Vegas in the fall.
No, it's part of the culture. Plus you're getting your West Coast attendance.
Yeah.
I know Larry did a show in the middle of the country
Mhm.
around a year ago.
Mhm.
I forgot where it was.
And Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, that's right. And he was telling us some statistics that it's within 6 hours driving of, I think, 60% of the US population. That's massive.
If you look at a population map, it's just amazing how many people still live east of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
As compared to the West. I mean, it's been 150 years since the gold rush or more, right? But still not a lot of people out here compared to the East Coast.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? The gold rush is something that I talk about with a lot of our members. And I warn them about with advertising and stuff like that. And they go, what do you mean the gold rush and advertising? I said, well, during the gold rush, everybody went out west to do digging and everything else to find their fortune. The only people that made money were the people that sold the picks and shovels.
As we talked about that. You called me a typical salesperson. I think last time I answered this jokingly. I hope.
Yes.
I said, well, they had a need and they provided the need. It doesn't matter. There was no gold.
It oozed out. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So I noticed, I think that was your wife that was here a few minutes
Yeah,
ago.
she looked at, rolled her eyes that he won't stop
She
talking,
said,
walked
"Had
away.
Too much
Yeah.
fun and just walked away. So yeah, I get that. Well, I appreciate you spending the time. I know you have a lot to do here with all these vendors and everything, and greatly appreciate it. And
Oh, Lance.
you know what? You seem to be listening to the people that are here, because I do notice a big change in the show from the last one.
Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do. People love coming to this event. There's a loyal audience here, and we're gonna see what they want and continue on from there. So I'm just happy. We're so thrilled to be a part of this. Thrilled to be partners with Normie and such great sponsors of this event, and let's hope that continues forever.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
And all the changes and everything else, and putting the bar next to us. It was all good.
We could have that as part of your sponsorship next year if you
Oh,
want.
I'm gonna hold you
Or
to that.
in your booth.
We got witnesses. They're all online. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're still here at the Experience Show, and we've been doing interviews, and they just did a big spread of food they put out. So everybody kind of migrated away. So it's a little bit quieter for us now to talk and do another interview. I got Mr. Jones here, and I'm going to call him Mr. Jones because he's just so proper about everything that we do.
I like
He
that.
He's the founder and CEO of Superstratum. And I'm going to let you just explain what that is, because the name itself sounds gigantic. So go for it.
Yeah, it's a little catchy name we came up with. It came from one of our flagship products called our Smart Polymer Coating. The super, we all know what that word means. The strata, which means that top layer. So it kind of goes along with this idea of our Smart Polymer Coating that, one of the unique things about our protocol is that we finish that protocol and we add that Smart Polymer Coating layer that is invisible. It's water resistant, abrasion resistant. And so that's where the name came from.
So it's a chemistry or a chemical company.
We're a chemical manufacturing and development company. We're primarily focused on the problem of mycotoxins. So we work with a lot of mold remediators, contents cleaners, HVAC cleaners, and we also have a new service company, our first Superstratum Network Pro in the Middle Tennessee area that's going out in the field and using these protocols to holistically treat entire building envelopes and to remove the mycotoxins often left behind from molds.
Okay, well, I want to talk about that in a minute, but I want to go back to the chemistry side of it.
Yeah.
Your product, what you're doing, how does it differ from a lot of the other stuff that's on the market? There's
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff out there.
Absolutely. So, a lot of chemistries that probably a lot of people listening will be familiar with, the peroxides, the peracetic acids, even, the quaternary ammonium salts. These chemistries, uniquely to our polymer coating, they can do a fine job at removing mold, at killing mold, removing stains. But oftentimes, once that moisture comes back, that chemical is washed away. There's no long-term performance when you're removing that mold. So our polymer chemistry is designed to last, in many cases, 25 years. We just got a review last week of somebody that used it 15 years ago and came back to us and said, wrote this big review, actually had to go find our new company because so much time had gone by. So really the biggest difference in the existing chemistries is our moisture resistance. Our coating actually loves moisture. That's what makes it active.
How is it for UV resistance? Like, is it an outdoor product also?
It's also an outdoor product. So we get, the efficiency of that product depends on the surface you're putting it on and how much wear it's getting. So if you sprayed it in your shower, we typically see about 10 to 12 weeks of performance. So you won't have any grout grow, any mold or mildew growing in that grout line. We put it on an exterior application, say vinyl siding, or if you got a lot of our customers, they'll power wash their slippery sidewalks or their brick and spray it down there. We see about 2 years of, protection against growth in those instances. And then once you get inside the home, get into cavities, that sort of thing. And we give a 10-year warranty on that, but we see performance like in that case, 15 years and 20 plus years.
What does a warranty mean? You say like a 10-year warranty. What is that?
Yep. So we will replace that product. We guarantee that product will work. There are some stipulations in that, of course, around, if there's future water damage incidents.
Mm-hmm.
But really what that is, it's that protection, for that remediator, knowing that they don't have to come back. And if something went wrong or if there was a moisture event after, they're not going to get that call back. They're not getting blamed for that. It's that extra layer of protection. It's very economical. It's very cost effective, to include that protection. And one of the ways that we're utilizing this product, a lot of builders now are starting to pre-treat homes. In fact, we just treated a 24,000 square foot build. It was a brand new $20 million home. And they coated every piece of wood in that building with this polymer to protect those cavities.
Well, we know there's always a problem with building because the lumber yard shows up, delivers the stuff, it lays in the dirt and the rain and everything else, and nobody ever cleans it.
Exactly.
So this
it's
is
inoculated as soon as that house goes up.
interesting. So in the comparison to other products, what is your product classified as?
Yeah, well, I'll back up a little bit here. We have a few different products. So
okay.
Our patent pending protocol, what we call our SMART protocol, this is a combination of 3 different chemicals, which I'll talk about, the SMART polymer coating being the last one.
Mhm.
But it's a full protocol. It involves some hardware, some different things. Of course, every job is different, right? But what our protocol primarily consists of, the first step is a hypochlorous acid. This is a chemical that's starting to gain some popularity. We have a unique version of that product, very shelf stable, and it has the right pH balance. So the first step of our protocol is we fog that into that environment. So that's the first chemical. Second chemical is chlorine dioxide gas. We come in after that humidity is raised, we use the gas in that environment, and then we'll use multi-cluster ionization, put positive pressure into that building, push the gas out, replace it with the fresh air, and then we'll use the coating last. So of all of our, we have a few of those chemistries. Our polymer coating is proprietary and unique. The other 2 chemistries, and this is something that is very important to us, is they're biodegradable salt-based chemistries. They don't leave any toxic chemicals behind. We exist for that sensitized patient. Those are our customers. They're the people.
And that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any kind of residuals, off gassing, anything like that can cause long-term effects?
No, we have for years and years on our coating, even for years and years, we've had actually people say when we found this technology, it was being sold under the brand name. And when we took it offline, we started getting emails. And one of the first emails we got was a customer who said, I've used this thing for years. It's the only chemical that I can use in my house that doesn't create additional sensitivities. And that's what we found, with these customers. They've never had any problems with hypochlorous acid or chlorine dioxide. And even our polymer coating, is not causing reactions in people.
Any special precautions for usage?
In regards to the polymer coating?
Well, any of the chemistries.
Well, so hypochlorous acid, no, you don't need any type of PPE. it's a very, very gentle chemical. The chlorine dioxide, yes. You know, the gas there it can't be inhaled. So when you run that part of the protocol, that's typically done overnight. You vacate the house, remove the people, pets, and plants, but it's biodegradable. It breaks
You
down
need
to a
scuba
salt.
type gear for that?
You need a full scuba suit.
Okay.
Yeah, well, of course, PPE on that, a gas mask when you're setting up. And then on the polymer coating, we typically recommend a mask or some overspray, but if it gets on your skin, you just wash it off. It's very gentle and safe.
Where is this as far as EPA registrations and
Great
stuff?
question. Yeah. So we have an EPA registered product that we are actually just now launching. So that'll be new up on our website probably. Well, this is live, so not by the time this airs, but very, very soon. But primarily our chemicals are not EPA registered. And the reason for that is we are addressing the mycotoxins. Mycotoxins fall outside of the realm of the FIFRA Act. Now,
Right.
the only exception to that is our polymer coating. And because of the uniqueness of that technology, a lot of people in the industry are not as familiar with what's called the treated articles exemption,
Right.
right? And this is something that I explain often to people that the EPA has made a particular exemption within the FIFRA Act. And that says if the antimicrobials used in your product are used to protect, if you're not making any public health claims, and the purpose is to protect an item from degradation of mold, then you don't need an EPA registration. And the EPA gives specific examples of that, and our product fits very, very squarely in that category. So we are limited on certain things we say. This is not a disinfectant. You do not clean mold with this protected product. If you apply it to a clean surface, once that surface is, it has been remediated.
Which again is the multi-step process.
Exactly. It's part of our protocol. But once that coating is down there, the way that smart polymer coating works and the technology, it will be protected from any growth. It will survive hundreds of wet dry cycles, and that surface will stay protected.
Interesting. And it has a longevity to it. You have your own protocols for it. One of the things about not being EPA registered is you can ship that internationally.
Mhm.
I know in Canada, they cannot take anything that is EPA registered.
Yeah.
So, it does give
Yep.
you a larger market too. That's interesting. That way.
Yeah. And it was a big thing at our company over the last 2 years of R&D with this system, trying to decide what to do. And it really came, it's what we worked a lot with Normie on this, and Doug and you guys, really trying to understand how we position this this new system that we're introducing on top of traditional remediation and tear outs and those sorts of things, right? So
Right.
rather than coming in and saying, here's a new way to remediate mold, what we're saying is, here is a more complete way to treat an entire home when you're remediating mold, because there are these other chemicals and elements that are left behind that traditional remediation doesn't cover. So we can point to other companies, who have the pesticide registrations, who do that remediation work. But our
Right.
company is specifically focused outside in the chemical side, not on the microbiology of the mold. We're focused on removing the chemical.
Well, obviously you can't make kill claims on anything that's not EPA registered, but effectiveness wise, as far as molds, bacteria, viruses, even the COVID issue that we dealt with, is just a product that will work in that area.
Yeah, certainly, as cleaners and protectants, we have a lot of mold remediators using our products on jobs that aren't mycotoxin jobs. And, there's a lot of success, especially on the coating, because it gives a remediator an entire new tool in their tool belt, right?
Sure.
Especially in disaster relief, these types of things, when you're dealing in these high moisture environments where you're trying to manage, this really gives, that technician an economical tool, right? Where they can protect virtually any surface, interior or exterior, from growth over an extended period of time.
Interesting. Well, we got to change gears here for a moment. I mean, your team is basically across the aisle from us. And I know John, and I've talked with him many times. And you guys did what? Rock, paper, scissors to see who lost and had to come do the interview with me? Is that how that worked?
Yeah, if it's between me and John, I always lose. You can tell who wins in that fight.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
He is.
What is his position? What does he do?
John is our chief science officer and chemist. He has a pretty extensive background in polymer technology and air filtration, and is a general contractor as well.
How does he find time to do that when he's in the gym all day long?
He'll laugh at that.
Yeah. No, and he was very interesting. I know we had talked in the past, and his knowledge is just incredible. He caught me by
He really
surprise
is,
with the way he speaks, but makes it capable for the layman to understand the product.
That's exactly right. we started working together very early. He basically came along. He showed up right when we first discovered our polymer coating, and he had all the
Okay.
background. He joined the company, as a partner, and his unique blend of, and Normie preaches this all the time, right? But we have mold problems because we have building problems, and
Exactly.
there are so many components to what can create this, which ultimately leads to a person being extremely sick, which is the mission of our company. We're trying to fix that.
Mhm.
So in order to fix that, we have to fix the environment. In order to fix the environment, there's all these pieces that you have to look at when you look at a building. And John, I laugh, I call him the Swiss Army knife sometimes, because he has all these really unique, he's got history in air filtration, and HVAC systems, which contribute to a lot of these problems. He's built homes, he's built buildings. He's a chemist by trade. He formulates chemicals. That's really been, I think, the differentiator of our company, is that we've kind of come in and pull a lot of different disciplines together and say, hey, we're missing a really big part of this problem because we're all kind of focused in these individual lanes.
Going a little bit sideways on the conversation, we know about the microbial side and how effective it is. Do you do anything on chemistry side? I know fentanyl right now is a massive problem.
Yeah.
Crime scene cleanup is a big problem. There's a lot of other things, meth labs.
Yep.
Any interaction across there?
We have done a little bit of research on that. And it's not something we're actively pursuing right now, but we do have some customers in the field who are using some of our chemistry. We understand theoretically the way that our chemistry works on that. We're not there yet, but it's likely something that we'll have in the future because
Sounds promising.
we think we've got some efficacy there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I noticed you have some newer people, at your booth too.
We do. We've got a partner here with us who has been a real game changer in what we've done. That's Mark Ritako at Respirator Labs. They are the first company that has developed a way to test both qualitatively and quantitatively in parts per billion for mycotoxins in the air.
Okay.
This has really revolutionized what we do because we developed and patented a system and a protocol based somewhat off of a theoretical problem that we saw on the health side. We knew that millions and millions of people are overloaded with mycotoxins, and we believed that it was coming from the air and buildings, but there was no way to validate that. We could only validate that on the surfaces.
Okay.
Mark's company and the labs was the first company that could help us validate this is a problem. We know to a very fine detail what's going on in that air. So that has allowed us now to validate on the front end and to validate on the back end that we've actually removed those chemicals out of that building and from that air.
Sounds like a complete package.
We believe it is. We're excited.
Well, I know we have been talking with you guys for a while. We're trying to put protocols and things in place to work together on some stuff. So this is exciting. And this is what the show is all about.
It is. Yeah. We met,
relationships.
we were laughing exactly a year ago at the show is when Doug and I connected. And I can't, it's crazy that we've only been working together on this for a year.
Yeah. Well, knowing John, it seems like a lifetime, but he'll watch this in the future. Say,
Listen, this is
about
what,
me.
if he sends me on, we pick on him because he can't defend himself.
And that's fair. That's fair. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
We'll do this again. We'll stay in touch. And, our members that are out there watching and the general public, hopefully they're going to take an interest in this and it's something different.
Absolutely. Any of your members, we're creating a lot of educational content. We've got a great technical support staff. We're looking for partners, people who are looking to add something to their business, who want to go that extra mile. That's why our company exists, is to equip remediators and people who actually want to make a difference. And every day, we're creating new tools to help those remediators do that and communicate that to their customers.
If they want to reach out to you, you have a website?
Absolutely. www.superstratum.co. And there's everything there. Our white paper is there, so they can read. Michael Pinto and Wonder Makers, released our white paper. We did that research with him. That's in our knowledge base. So there's all sorts of stuff on that website that they can check out.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll do this again, and I know we'll see you at future shows.
Absolutely, we will.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Live again at the third day of the Experience Trade Show in Las Vegas. I have Jeff Cross with me, who is the publisher. I'm trying to think of all the
I
titles.
put my
you have.
card right down here so you could read off
Yeah,
the
what's
card.
stuff on the card for all the different things you do with all the
So
different
just
magazines?
media director, media director.
Media director.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so the media director. Okay, from Clean Facts and
Clean Facts and
There's
I-
other magazines involved.
so ISSA, our trade association, owns 3 media brands, 3 magazines.
Right.
Clean Facts is the one that serves this industry, the one that you're more familiar with,
Mhm.
that you know something about,
Little.
little. And then we have Cleaning and Maintenance Management magazine, which serves the contract cleaners, facilities, those that do the janitorial or custodial cleaning. And ISSA Today, which is the publication for our members, but it's more of a C-suite executive magazine. Those 3. It's all I
Hey,
do.
that wasn't all on the card.
I need a bigger card.
That's what I said. So on the important side of it, this is day 3 of the Experience Show. We got about an hour or so to go until the doors close and then the whole cleanup process starts.
I just came for the espresso you promised me.
I could go for it right now.
I
It's
know.
freezing. It's cold in here.
It
Either
is.
that or I'm
It is.
just tired. But how's the show been for you? I mean, this has been very busy. I mean, we've been at the other Experience shows, but this is a really, really busy show for us this year.
Yeah, this is Friday afternoon. Normally,
And there's Larry. talking.
normally it's not this busy. Larry's always interrupting. But yeah, I thought it was very good up and, till the very end. Very busy.
Yeah, we were very busy. We did a training today. We did we had 3 segments this morning that we did on the remediation process. We built a room of containment. We did negative pressure, and the room was packed. It was standing room only, which
That's good.
is good to see.
Yeah, very good. People want and need the training. So it's nice to see the classrooms having that activity.
Hey, 5 minutes ago, there was nobody over here. We sat down, we're talking, they're starting to, circle around. So that's
Yeah,
okay.
they're here.
That's okay. So I know you guys have a show coming up.
We do. ISSA Show North America 23 in Las Vegas, November 13th through the 16th. Or 13th to the 16th.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
That
Monday
sounds
through
about right.
Thursday.
And it's back in Vegas.
It's back in Vegas, Mandalay Bay. Monday is all education. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is trade show and education, networking. It's our 100th anniversary this year, as everyone knows. So we have a big bash celebration there. So just, trade shows. We've been doing a long time and we love it. I love the networking. Talking to people like
Yeah.
you.
Gavin. Gavin's always a treat.
He's got that good accent. Yes,
Yes, yes. So he keeps you busy, I'm sure.
he does.
So anything special coming up at the convention?
So there's a lot of new things happening, but every year there's different education, different speakers. I'm looking forward to meeting. So I do a lot of interviews, as you know,
Right.
for my own programming. So I talk to a lot of people over Zoom and we record. I'm going to meet some of them in person. So I'm
Oh,
looking forward
okay.
to that. Yeah, I love events like this because you and I have been doing these a long time. And I love just connecting with people again, the networking. That's important to me more than anything else.
I agree. And it's funny, people come up and they shake your hand. I got to look at the names. Oh, I remember you now.
Because it's not like you're around them all the time, but it's once a year. So faces are much easier than names. Yes, like I know you.
Yeah. I know you.
I know you.
I know you from someplace. I
Yes.
really do. But when Andrea from the event here, and when we went to register, I walked up to the registration desk. She says, "Oh, I got something for you," and I had to look at her name tag for a minute to remember who she was.
Mhm.
We talked with her last year, and she knew that I was with emergency services. Her husband's a fireman. And she gave me a patch. It's that kind of stuff that you run into every year when you come back to these things. People recognize it.
They do. Yeah, and I see some of the same people every trade show.
Mhm.
You have your regulars, you have your new ones, so it's a good mix of people. And what a good industry. Just they're here because they want to learn and do better. And it's Vegas. That's a draw as well.
I know during our classes, we always hand out applications for CleanFacts. If anybody watching wants to get a copy of CleanFacts, how do they go about doing that?
So thank you for that. Yeah, it's amazing how many you at Normie you send us when you have a class. So obviously we have those forms, but most now that are listening and watching this program, just go to cleanfacts.com. There's a subscribe button. You can do it online. It's very easy to do.
Yeah.
Just online.
And truthfully, we want our people to be educated in not just a specific, vertical that they're in. They need to know about the other verticals, even if they don't do the work.
Education.
It's
That's what it's about.
education, but we're also dealing with a different market now. The consumer is educated. They all go on YouTube, they all go on Google, they all research everything. Whether they get the right information or not is a different story. But they can ask you questions, and when you don't know or you haven't heard about what they're talking about, they look at you like, I thought you were an expert. I thought you knew this industry. Well, that's not really my industry. Well, yeah, it is. It's all about breathing.
Exactly. It's about speaking confidently about what you do, about your industry. You don't have to do everything there is to do as far as the type of work, but you should be knowledgeable about it.
I'm not sure for anybody watching can hear Larry, who's,
They can hear him.
oh yeah, they can hear him probably without the microphone system wherever they're located. But yeah, we're getting towards the end of the show and they're doing a lot of giveaways here and it's getting kind of loud. So
Yeah,
hey, we're
It
giving it a shot here, you know?
that's right. Weed out the sounds and but it's been great to be here and
Yeah.
see Normie and you guys always do a great job with what you do as well.
All right, thank you for that. It was a good show. You know, it really was. And we met a lot of new people, a lot of people from Canada, from actually Alaska. We were talking to a bunch of people. So, you know, the word's getting out and they're
Yep.
coming to see us. So anything else? Any surprises?
No,
Anything-
nothing. It's just 25 minutes to go and Larry's gonna give away some stuff. So
All
I guess
right.
that's it.
Thank you very much. And we'll see you at the next show.
All right.
Take care.
It's so important to be able to tell the story of the work that you do, because that's how we learn, that's how we improve. So as we take a pathway of continuous improvement, if we don't share our stories in remediation, restoration and cleaning, we'll never improve. And this is the right time to do it, and this is the place to come. The experience is the place to come to learn more, to do better.
You are doing a favor for yourself and more importantly for your customers by attending the experience. You're going to gain more knowledge, meet more associates, be able to talk, shop with people that truly understand what you do every day, and that's really priceless, and you rarely get that, you know, working in the field. So I could say, take the time. It's worth it.
So the experience exhibition is amazing. There's a ton of awesome vendors out here. So if you're a restoration and cleaning business owner or somebody that works for one or you're in charge of growing one, these are the type of events that you need to go to. Every single vendor for every different type of channel for your business to grow or scale your business is here. And it's very important as business owners to be a member of associations and events like this, because who better to learn from than your peers and your competition, learn what they do right, what they don't do right. It's a great opportunity to network for your business. And there's also a ton of classes going on for you to learn everything and in and out, anything you've been struggling with your business at this event.
So the thing that I've enjoyed the most about the experience this year is just seeing some of the different associations, the R&R magazine, Normie coming in. You can really see this portion of the industry wanting to change, expand, build those collaborations, even with competitors, which I believe the industry needs to do. This is probably the best IICRC event that I've been to. The experience, the R&R magazine, really enjoying what's happening this year.
The number of people that I've met for the very first time. And it's like, wow, this is my network. These are people that I can help. This is like growing my family in one day.
Well, I want to thank everybody that stayed and hung in there for that. It's a bit longer than we normally do, but I didn't want to slight anybody. We had a lot of really good interviews and content, and I wanted to put it out there for everybody. So thank you for being patient. Doug, anything?
Good job. Yeah, I think it did give us kind of give everybody a flavor of what that event was like. And it's always kind of cool to renew old acquaintances, get to meet new people. And like I said earlier, I think it's interesting to me to see the cross section of people that are brand new in the industry and people that have actually been in there for years. I remember Larry Cooper saying to me, I think last year, he said, you know, when we started this years ago, we didn't have any science. We didn't use any science. And he said, now we've got organizations like yours and others that are really depending on really good science to make sure that jobs are done correctly, testing correctly. And I think I made the point in our class this time in my presentation, they're one of the first times that they've spent a bunch of time on assessment. It's always been on the remediation process, but us being able to bring to the table a discussion about assessment for assessors and remediators and restoration contractors, I'm really excited about that change. So looking forward to Chattanooga.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I am going to quickly turn it over to Tim. We're still live on all the platforms. So if you want to do some real quick announcements on the classes, and then we'll shut it down. And Mike, you got the last few minutes after that.
Yeah, sounds good, Lance. I appreciate it. We're kind of at the end of a streak of week after week after week of something going on. So we have a CMA CMR class that just started today in Sunrise, Florida at the Norman Pro Academy. And that's it at the licensing 3-day licensing class. We'll have another 3-day licensing class in October, the 17th through the 19th, again at our Sunrise location in the Fort Lauderdale area. So if you didn't make it to this class this week, you've got another one coming up next month. Go ahead and sign up. I know we've got people signed up for it already, but we want to make sure we get you signed up if you're looking for that license in Florida, Louisiana, DC, or just a national certification. That class is the class to take. And then we have some advanced classes coming in November, the NCRSI and the NCMP class, the 7th through the 9th. Those are the sensitized individual classes that Doug and Michael Pinto will be teaching. And if you don't have that added to your tool belt, you need that. There are so many people out there now that are sensitized. You saw the interview with Michael Pinto, with Seth Jones and SuperStratum and what they do for sensitized individuals. It's all over the industry now. And this class is that foundational class to get you that next leg up in the industry dealing with those sensitized individuals. That's what we have on the schedule. And you can go to training.normie.org or to the besttrainingschool.com website and find our schedule.
Thank you, Tim. And I have two quick requests for everybody watching on whatever platforms they're watching on. If you're on any of the social media streaming platforms, please remember to share our videos, share our content. It helps this industry. It helps all of us. And if you're on any of the social platforms, please follow us. You'll get the notifications. We don't want you to miss anything, and it helps us keep in touch with you. Also, for the people that now have the Normie app, you should have all gotten a notification today, just when we were starting, that we went live. And that's something we're able to push out on the app. You can just touch Normie TV on the app and you're watching what we're broadcasting. So it's all there for you. I'm going to shut down the feeds. I want to make sure everybody that is a Normie member goes to impact.normie.org so they can catch the last few minutes here with Mike. And yes, Tim, something else?
I was just going to say, if you have the Normie app, you need to make sure that you have given them permission to give you those notifications, or you won't get them. So
Right.
when you sign up for the app, you want to give them permission to send you those notifications so that you'll receive those as we send them out.
Yes, thank you for that. As you can tell, the day is rolling on. It's getting long. All right, I'm going to shut down the other feeds. Thank you, everybody on the public network and social media. And for the Normie members here at impact.normie.org, we'll be with you in 1 second.